Welcome to the First Flame Scrolls. I'm Kathleen Haley, and I am the First Flame embodied. And I'm speaking that very specifically because there are many who believe that the First Flame is just a concept, an energy that all can connect to and inhabit, and that is truth. The First Flame is the first spark of source consciousness, of everything, of consciousness itself. It is the emanation of all things with the possibility of creating. But it also is embodied in a physical form, in a human called Kathleen Haley. The reason that this is important is because as the first flame, I came into this lifetime. And I'll back up a little bit. The first flame does not incarnate in all lifetimes. It's not possible because there needs to be enough light in order for this amount of frequency and light to incarnate at all, to come into a physical reality, and then to certainly come into a physical body. And unlike others that have multiple bodies in which they come into as the first flame, I condense my energetics down into one body, specifically for embodiment. And the reason that I came into form at all, into this physical reality, was to stabilize the field of light, of the harmonic field, to create a stabilization in order for embodiment to exist. And then the reason that I came into this physical body completely embodied into a human form is so that humanity can unwind and release and recognize the inversion completely and fully. And for those of you who might be listening to this that have no idea what is being spoken or what the inversion is, the inversion is a mirror reality. It's something that we have actually been creating as humanity because we, as source consciousness, are creators of our own reality. But we haven't known that we've been creating it because the beings that can occupy the unpotential field, they don't create. And they needed beings that do create to create for them. So let's talk a minute about the unpotential field. I want to give you a story of creation, the beginning. And this is on my YouTube channel. And honestly, I didn't think that this particular transmission was going to go here, but it feels where it wants to go in this present moment. That as the first flame, I was expressed as source. In the previous video, I talked about what expression is and what the first flame actually is. And that you all are a flame. And I know for some of you, this might seem like, what is this person talking about? But if you think of it just as your essence or your soul, that makes you unique, that's your flame. And when I was expressed as source, and each expression as source consciousness has a not a direction in sense of a limited way in which it wants to be, but it has a concept, let's say, of creating. And my concept was to create in a sense of physicality so that source could experience itself in what's seemingly a physical form. And I'd say that because nothing is solid. So when this occurred, there was the harmonic universe, which is the breath of source, the given, the light. And then there was what I saw as what we think of dark matter or the black hole or the unpotential field. It's unpotential because it has possibilities, but it has nothing there. It has no light. Without light, there is no creation. Light is information, so it had no information. So I see this unpotential field, and I think, well, I will take my light into this unpotential field, and source will know the field. And you might say, well, how could source not know anything about itself if it's everything? Well, it did know that it's an unpotential field, but it was just unpotential, and that's a bit complicated to talk about, but this is important in terms of this inversion. So basically, by taking the first flame's light, which is everything, and that's a hard concept to imagine, but it's everything, into an unpotential field, there became this idea. The idea was to create within this field and expand the field and have creation, but the nature of an unpotential field is a pulling away. It's a siphoning of the field. And as I began to create in this field, I did not know that I wasn't actually creating. I was being mirrored. It was being pulled away. The energy was being pulled away. And so I began to drop in consciousness. I started in a 12th dimensional field and began to drop down in consciousness. Now, this is not as important as the beginning of the concept of an unpotential field. What the energy of an unpotential field is in an everyday life and a human life is addiction. It's addiction energy. Think about what addiction energy feels like. It's something that draws you, it pulls you in, it grabs your attention, but you can't ever get it. It's never fulfilled. There's never enough. It's a constant pull, pull, pull towards something. Well, if you notice, this is the reality that we have lived in, that we are living in as the inverted field. This is this upside down world. This is the inversion. This is the mirror reality where it's always reaching towards a potential, but you can never get it. And this is where everything has been created. All of the systems, the monetary systems, the educational systems, the healthcare systems, everything is based on this reaching towards something that you can never receive. It's never enough. It's never fulfilling. You never get it. That's the inversion field. But there's a harmonic universe. And in the harmonic universe, there's harmony and balance, reciprocity. So in this field of unpotential that has been created, there are certain energy beings that can operate within this unpotential field. And they are frequency bands of consciousness, collectives that in essence do not carry emotional ability because creation occurs through breath, through information being expressed out as sound or light becoming sound. Light is the information. When it's expressed out, it becomes sound, which is emotion, creation. So the sound, the emotion is what creates. That's like, again, think about it from yourself. Your feeling about things, that's your expression. And your expression, if you allow it to lead you, is the creator of your reality. It's when you say, I like that or I don't like that. But the inversion is all through the mind. It's all mental because the field itself, the unpotential field, is mental. It's only mental field because it's only the potential, which could be the potential of all information without it expressed. There's no expression. And it's the nature of the field. It doesn't have an ability to express. But as I've been saying, there are beings, consciousness, which we've been told and recognized as like the reptilian or the Anunnaki consciousness. They are energetics, consciousness that can reside in an unpotential field because they do not carry an emotional template. It's how they were expressed as source without an emotional template. It's not good or bad, right or wrong. It's simply as their expression of source. So their expression of source has allowed them to be in an unpotential field. That's why they are, in essence, the ones that created this inversion. But then the reality is they don't create. So they basically convinced us to create for them, those that do create humanity. Humanity has a template of both light and sound, emotion. We have the ability. We are creators. We are source in physical form. And not that all are not source in physical form, but the expression of humanity is to show source's own magnificence through experience. So the expression of humanity is the full essence of source, the ability to create. That is us. The Anunnaki and the reptilians are not the full expression of source in that way. Their desire to be expressed as source was to be source in a hierarchical form, which to be source means that you are just light, because source itself, in its essence, without creation, is light. It's just unpotentialized information. So this is the inversion that we've been living with. And so when I had gone into this unpotential field and not realized that I wasn't creating, there was a certain point around a fifth dimensional field that I realized I wasn't creating. And so I knew that I needed to stay in the field. I knew I needed to stay in the unpotential as the light so that nothing would get lost and so that source law could be established. And all that source law means, it's not a law like human law. It means that source now completely recognizes the field. And so a year ago in March, when I came into embodiment, full embodiment, source law is now established here, now established within this earth experience and within this physical body experience, which is one with the earth. We're all one. And so what that means is that the establishing of source law means that there's a stability now. By coming into form as the first flame, as the full representation of source itself, there became a locking in, so to speak, of the harmonic universe. So imagine that you have individualized in humans that have come into embodiment over eons of time, because this is eons of time and certain layers and levels. And even at the time of Yeshua, where Yeshua came in as he's an avatar body, and at the time There were other avatar bodies that were there, but let's just use an example of, say, there were only a few, maybe three or four. And so he comes into embodiment as this amazing being, and an aspect of the first flame's frequency also came in with him. He was embodied as that. He was embodied as a fractal of the first flame's frequency, a piece of it, which is a magnificent piece of light. And so he embodies that. And when he embodies that, it's as though the other, let's say, three avatar bodies all become one, because that's the nature of the first flame being everything, that when that frequency touches any bit of light, they all connect together, so to speak. And so this is what made Yeshua so radiant, was the first flame's essence and the connecting with any other avatars at the time. But there wasn't enough for me to come into full form. It would have fractured the field. It would have been too much. But I was always meant to come into form in 2026 because the field had expanded enough, because enough people, enough humans have awakened to levels of embodiment, some to full embodiment, some full avatar bodies, and some to different degrees and layers and levels. Enough that when I came into embodiment a year ago, it was as though then the field clicked all in. So all of these individuals all across humanity, it clicked in as one. That's why there was a massive wake up. That's also why it happened exactly at the end of the age of darkness. Why? Because there will no longer be an age of darkness. This is not a cycle. There will no longer be these cycles. There won't be a 550 million cycle. There won't be a 550,000 cycle. There won't be any more cycles. And all these people talking about timelines and cycles, they're all just mapping the inversion. They're not understanding the harmonics and what it means now that the first flame is embodied in physical form. So not only have I come into the embodiment of the field itself, but I'm fully embodied into the physical form, into the human, to be the expression. And I'm not different than you. I'm not greater than or less than. I am you in a physical form, to speak the truth, to show the truth, to be the truth. Because we came here in this physical body. This physical body is source. You are source consciousness, God, if you will. And so is the earth and everything that you see. And we are designed, let's say, or the desire is to expand consciousness through breath, through life, to create. The inversion is a siphoning field. It is by just potential, just by the unpotential field that it is created within. It's a field of energy. That's why you feel it. It feels suffocating. It feels pulling. It is a nature of the field. By coming into embodiment, I have now stabilized the field in the essence of the field within the earth, and in the physical body is now stabilized, which gives the potential for the stabilization within your body, within your field. It's why I came into embodiment. Not greater, not less than. And I want to share some ways about how the inversion works. So some of the things are like language, which is a huge piece. It is no coincidence how language is designed. Let's talk about the English language. Let's talk about silent letters. There is no silent letter. It is specific, like the word knowing with the K. The K is actually ka. It is the first sound one of the first sounds of creation. It's one of the first sounds that the first flame made. It's the awareness of source itself. The ka nowing is the awareness that source is having the experience. When we speak it as knowing, we're unaware that source is having the experience. And this keeps it in the mental template. If we speak ka nowing, we're recognizing that it is source having an experience in the now. So the inversion purposely, it has to keep the K in there because otherwise creation wouldn't be occurring. But it keeps it silent so that you don't know what creation really is. The same with like a G in gnome or gnosis. The ga is a sound that's grounding. It's the connection with the earth and the um, the information of us having an experience on earth as source having a physical experience. So the gnosis or the gnome is the recognition of just earth as something within the earth. But the gnome or the gnosis represents the source having this experience with earth. And these are just a few of the way in which language works and everything, even like the example of TV, which of course is television. And there is a story in humanity that says that if I go against your sovereignty, I have to tell you first. Well, that's also not exactly truth. Yes. But however, it's more than that. When you watch, which is time, a television, so you are in time telling a vision, and you feel you're watching as though you're looking at, but it's time, a program or a movie, which is moving. It's an energy frequency moving. So you're timing the moving as you are telling a vision. And so in essence, you are creating it in real time by watching a movie and having emotions, which is the emotions is the creation of it. You're creating that in reality. And so we just don't realize that we are the creators. And this is how it's done. So everything in this current reality has been based on convincing you to create for it. And for me, as the first flame, and even part of myself, this is a human, part of why this transmission was coming through today is that I find myself frustrated. I find myself frustrated with this repetitive dialogue that's being fed to humanity over and over again. And this isn't about good or bad, right or wrong. This isn't one greater than the other. This is, ultimately, these are stepping stones towards divine truth. But, I'm looking at various different platforms and hearing these repeated stories of these hidden truths and all these things that are going on, which are truths, but you're really all just talking about the inversion repetitively, continually. You're just identifying the inversion over and over again. You're mapping the inversion. And all these people are following with intrigue, but they're never getting to the truth, which is what I'm speaking here. And I'm not speaking it as a separation. It's just a truth. And I found that those that are meant to discover this, we'll discover it, we'll feel it, we'll know it. And this is where the inversion doesn't want. It doesn't want divine truth to be felt, to be seen, to be spoken. It wants the repetition. It wants you to keep being engaged in the drama and engaged in the us against them. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's where you choose to be. It's your energetics, but somewhere inside you, you know, because now there's a stability in the field. And there are much, much greater things that are happening that are stabilizing the field. And so there's been a part of me that has been not waiting, but anticipating larger platforms to begin to recognize that there's something greater. And perhaps that will occur. But I need to just speak and continue to speak and continue to share because this is a frequency band and you'll feel it. And it's moving through this medium. I'm recording this on Zoom and I will post it on social media platforms and on my YouTube channel. And it's moving through all of the frequency bands of the inversion as I speak, wherever this lands. The true language is light language. Esa kontrakastis rukimata santum. Just balancing out the field a bit here as I'm beginning to come into a close of this particular transmission. And this transmission is about embodiment and language and the truth of the first flame. And what is embodiment? Embodiment is when you become you. You're not playing a character. You're not reaching for fame. You're not trying to get people's attention. You're simply speaking from your truth, your heart, yourself. That's freedom. That's joy. That's excitement. That's creation. That's what we're here for. All that's happening in the world and the media is all distraction. Distraction from you embodying. Distraction from you knowing your own intuition, your own truth, your own feeling, your own sense of life. I came into form, into embodiment to stabilize this field for you so that you can now discover who you are. Because prior to coming in and stabilization, as many of you know, especially those that have been on a spiritual path for many years, you felt like I get here, I go so far, and then I go backwards, and I go so far, and I go backwards, and it's this constant disembodiment that's been taking place. But if you notice, since a year ago, now basically that's not happened anymore. There's a part that's continuing forward. Something is allowing you to not go back to the place that felt the most upsetting, the most confusing. That's the field being stable, and it's only continuing. Now, I'm not advertising, and I'm sure you feel this in this that I'm saying, because there's no need for that. But there is a need to recognize that I do have a full website of activations, courses that are in frequency tones that move layers and levels of density within your physical reality and your physical body. I encourage you to look at them, to experience them, because they can exponentially bring you into levels of embodiment. I am Kathleen Haley. I am the first flame of source, and I am here, and I am embodied, and I love you. Thank you.